my product is Traktor. It's a digital decision support platform for farmers. We're online and mobile. We provide farmers with both the information and the goods and services they need to produce better. I hope to impress the jury members with our idea, and we already received quite a good score from the evaluation committee so far, so I'm hoping to confirm that and hopefully move on to the next round. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Mark. I'm CEO of Traktor. I'm originally from the Netherlands, but I've been living in Georgia for the last 6 years, and among others have started Traktor with a team of Georgian IT developers and agronomists. Digital services have yet to make their mark on agriculture in emerging markets, and yet in those same emerging markets there's a huge opportunity to do so, with over 500 million farmers connecting to the internet for the first time in the next 5 to 10 years. There's also a huge need to do this, as traditional service providers are not equipped to reach farmers at a large scale. Take, for example, the example of governmental agricultural extension officers. In a country like Georgia, the average extension officer has to divide his or her attention by about 6 times the amount of farmers as his average counterpart in the EU, which means that farmers are not getting the right information, they're not making the right decisions, which in turn limits their farm income and their access to the goods and services they need to grow their farm. Traktor addresses that information gap with better, more personalized, more tailored decision support services at significantly lower cost than traditional service providers. And also, with every farmer that connects to the network, that becomes a user on the platform, our buying power, our ability to procure the goods and services that farmers need to grow their farm increases. We started Traktor in February last year. We have a range of decision support services on the platform, from a digital crop calendar that has over 200 educational videos embedded, as well as an online store that provides over 500 physical products, from seeds to fertilizer and pesticides. Last year, we've mostly been engaged on just getting farmers on the platform, getting farmers used to the product. We've been positively surprised by the reception so far. Last year, for example, we averaged about 25,000 monthly unique visitors and clocked in over 3.5 million views on the educational videos on the platform. This year, we're more focused on also validating key aspects of the business model behind it, in particular the sale of physical goods through our online store. Now, as more or less any e-commerce startup, our operating margins on online sales are still quite low, as we're competing with existing market actors, mainly traditional input supply shops. With this investment, with this grant, we aim to develop digital premium subscription-based decision support services, for which we have virtually no competitor here in Georgia, which will allow us to increase our net revenue quicker, get to break even quicker than we normally would. Before explaining these revenue streams a bit further, I'd like to zoom out a little bit and mention that we don't see ourselves as a typical e-commerce or SaaS company. We ultimately see ourselves as a data company, a company that has better insights into the farm performance than any other existing service provider. With every farmer that connects to the network, with every action that he or she takes on the platform, that insight increases, and we'll be able to add other revenue streams on top of that, including, for example, not just selling goods to the farmer, but also helping them sell their crops more easily by connecting them to buyers, getting a better price for their crop through crop merchandising. Back to the now. So what we're doing is this year we've been mostly focused on getting users on the platform, getting to know who they are, what they're growing, where they're located. From next year onwards, we'd like to have more granular insights into how much they're actually growing, and of course, eventually also the quality of what they're growing. Based on that, this is ultimately the basis for our business model, including the 2 revenue streams I'd like to focus on right now, which we'll be developing over the next year. The sales of physical goods, which we've already been started on last year and this year, as well as the development of subscription as a services, which we'll be developing within this investment. Very quickly on e-commerce, on retail, here our model is not much different from a regular sort of e-commerce model. in the sense that we want to use superior insights on our user, combine that with increased buying power and a direct-to-farmer distribution model to gain a competitive advantage over traditional retail shops in terms of providing goods and services at a lower price. With regards to subscription-based services that we'll be developing under this investment, we foresee 2 products. First of all, we'll be transferring some of our existing decision support services, such as our digital crop calendar, to a paid service at a modest subscription fee. And thanks to an agreement that we're currently concluding with one of Georgia's largest rural lenders, rural banks, we project that we will have around 100,000 customers on this standard package by the end of next year. On top of that, we would like to develop additional premium services that will be selling also on a subscription basis, including automated image-based recognition of pests and diseases, as well as basic farm management module. In terms of competition, we're currently in Georgia mostly competing with existing input suppliers, so traditional retail shops, apparently. And as briefly explained before, here our unique selling point lies in the fact that we will intend to use automation and increased buying power to provide goods at a lower price than the local shops, so to say. In terms of digital solutions, we don't really have any competition here in Georgia at the moment. Outside of Georgia, which is obviously the plan to expand this platform outside of Georgia, we aim to also target similar greenfield markets in which we'll be able to use a first mover advantage to gain a dominant market position. And I assure you that there's many of those markets still available, as we're quite ahead of the curve in terms of competition out there. With regards to the team, very quickly, as I mentioned before, I've been in Georgia for the last 4 years. We have about 10 people in the office right now, involved in mainly in IT development and marketing and sales. And before starting Traktor, me and my co-founders launched another IT company that's active in data analysis for a number of international organizations in 15 markets worldwide. Thank you very much.
Have you ever considered using this platform to create a cooperative among the farmers to maximize their own value?
I think that's an excellent point. We do see ourselves as, we don't want to market ourselves too much as a cooperative. One of the reasons is there are negative associations with cooperatives in a market like Georgia, given the history.
Give it another name. Give it another name.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thinking of that. One of the similar companies in the US that we are looking at in terms of directions is a company called Farmers Business Network, which is providing a lot of similar functionalities, and also they see themselves as the name is the clue is in the title, as a network of farmers. So yes, we do want to market ourselves, especially of course because the data aspect of it will also be very important in terms of making sure that we know that our users that we're safeguarding their privacy, etc. So yes,
There's
absolutely.
an interesting cooperative in the state of Rhode Island called Rhody Fresh that directs its organization on dairy farmers. You might want to look at.
I'll absolutely take that into account. Yeah, thanks.
Quick question about, I understand how you could sell this, and I understand the utility to farmers. I know Farmers Business Network.
Right.
What about the cost of the data? So you didn't say anything about your costs, and how many subscriptions do you have to sell to cover that cost? In other words, it's not valuable to anybody unless you have lots of good data about the weather, about who's planting what, about which pests are out there. I mean, all kinds of things that farmers care about. Where do you get that data, and how much does it cost you? And then how long do you have to be, how many people do you have to have buying subscriptions to break even?
Yeah, so I'll readily admit that in terms of the investment that we've put in so far, in terms of developing, right now our data is basically the information that we give to farmers, the videos, the knowledge on the platform.
What does that cost you to create that?
It's cost quite a bit more. The cost probably outweigh, it doesn't really justify the investment here in Georgia.
No, I'm talking about like a year from now. What's the vision?
So
in other words, does the vision work? Does it cost more than,
Yes, we project it will. in terms of cost of goods sold on the subscription-based services, they will not be of the kind of range that a lot of comparable SaaS companies, and they won't be in the 10 to 20% range, but they will be lower than 50. So yes, we do anticipate that that we'll be able to make that work. And also because not unsimilar as Business Farmers Network, farmers are readily willing to provide them with the data because it provides them with a utility.
Which
and
is
so,
a chicken and egg problem.
Exactly. And so we want to employ the same kind of strategies to, with every new feature that we add to the platform, motivate farmers to actually provide us with reliable information and then feed that back into them. So that's part of the strategy.
Related to this, there are lots of ways to measure some of the things you mentioned: crop quality, crop yield, and so forth. People measure water, fertilizer, pests, and the methods they use are sensors in the ground, drones,
Yes.
John Deere smart tractors.
Yes.
You didn't really talk about how you collect data to tell people what the quality
Yes.
or yield will be.
We obviously take all these things that are out there into account. Ultimately, we see ourselves as a platform that collects some of that data and makes it more useful to farmers. Now, obviously, we'll have to choose which technologies we work with and which we don't.
There's a company in Fresno, California called On Farm.
Yes.
And they decided to work with the various providers of that data, like John Deere or like some of the other companies, and then they aggregate it because the farmers have too much information, if they have any at all, and don't know what to make of it. And so you should look at their model. It's,
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I mean, this is an issue.
They partner with companies that provide data.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is an issue, and we're building a database in which we have an overview of exactly which technology is out there in terms of remote sensing, in terms of satellite-based technologies.
Right.
And our challenge will be, and I readily accept that this will be a challenge, will be in making sure that we use those technologies that most accurately apply to local situations on the ground.
In smaller farms. Yeah.
Absolutely, exactly. Yeah.
So basically, efficiency in farming in Georgia is very critical. We have a huge agrarian culture that needs to become more efficient. So I love the focus there. But I also know that farmers tend not to be very technical.
Yeah.
How is that all working? What are you finding in terms of adoption? Because it's very easy to say, I don't want to change.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to learn.
So we know that we're not a short-term play. We're in this for the long haul. It will take a significant amount of time to get people to use the application on scale. One of the things that we're doing, for example, at the moment to mitigate the risks, that risk, is we deal with quite a lot of farms through a call center that is attached to the platform. So, for example, even though we have an online store that integrates digital payments and everything, 90% of our sales are still through manually through the call center. So farmers get to us through the application, through the content that we have on the platform, but ultimately their call. Now, obviously, part of our strategy will be to move some of that engagement, increasingly amounts of that engagement to the platform, but this will be a long-term process, and we readily accept that indeed. But yes, it's a needed
What
challenge.
type of information comes from the Ministry of Agriculture that's appropriate for this platform?
We're working with the ministry in a range of different fields. For example, we've worked with them to develop content to help farmers prepare better to eventually export goods to the EU. We're, in a way, I don't think we will be supplanting all of the decision support to farmers. In-field consultations, for example, will remain very valuable, and this is a field that actors like the ministry can be very valuable partners, and we're actively working with them to make that so. Yeah.
So if you say that a lot of farmers still call you to make an order, how do you compare with others that deliver the same products to them?
Well, we do make a point of making sure that we don't. We still differ in a lot of other ways. Actually, in fact, that call center is already pretty unique. No other service provider has that. But yes, it is a little bit of a step back, of course, from the digital model, so we're being very careful that we don't have to make any additional steps backwards. So we'll never have any actual physical storefronts, etc. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I think it went well. Obviously, I've yet to see the actual video myself, but I'm not unsatisfied. I thought the level of the judges and the questions was very high, so I'm really impressed by this event. And I think it will really help us also in general and it has already helped us to present our company and to refine our pitch further. So, yeah.
მე მინდა გამოვაცხადო სტარტაპი, რომელიც არის ქართულ-ჰოლანდიური სტარტაპი და მათ აქვთ საკმაოდ საინტერესო გადაწყვეტა, ეს არის ჭკვიანი დამხმარე 500 მილიონი ფერმერისთვის განვითარებულ ქვეყნებში, ეს არის სტარტაპი ტრაქტორი. დილოცავ.